Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today I will break down a simplified form of how to build an engine. Now, there's so much specifications you need and a lot more details, but this is how to do it with not much wiring, very low precision. You're still going to need a lot, but this is basically what you're going to need first is you're going to need a engine block, obviously something to build. This is your foundation to your motor. This is something you'll need. And then once you have your block, whether it's brand spanking new or used, if it's used, I recommend tearing it all down to a bare block. Take it to the machine shop, like a reputable one, because some can mess up the. It's very accurate precision that you need, shaving and cutting and all that stuff. So get a good one, find a good one, and then once you got that, you're gonna need a list of items starting from bottom end. You're gonna need a crankshaft, and for all you professional builders out there, pretty sure you already know what crankshaft is. This what sits on the bottom of the motor to the block we just showed you. This moves all the pistons, the timing chains, and a whole lot of stuff. And then once you have this you can get or take to the machine shop also, and have them balance it and shave it if it needs to, see if it's good or not. You're gonna need a crankshaft, and then you're gonna need, let's say, you're gonna need pistons. So piston, and this is kind of like a little um, not something in depth because this can go forever, but you're gonna need pistons, piston kit. Watch, you're gonna need pistons, rods, and then you're gonna need bearings to sit on the crankshaft. So like a kit, so you're gonna need pistons, piston rings. These need to be measured very specifically to your motor. And then you're gonna need this, and then there's like a little solid tube that goes into this that holds the rod together. So this is your rod. Rod goes into piston. This sits on the crankshaft. The picture I just showed you. Let's see. Summit. Crankshaft. So this is your crankshaft. The end of the rods sit here, but there's a bearing that sits in the middle, and this bearing has to be so precisely measured. You're going to need a measuring tool to, depending on if you're buying it new or not, you're going to need a measuring tool to see the gap, because if it's too tight, there's not going to be any oil, and if it's too loose, there's going to be too much oil flooding through, and other circumstances that just fuck your motor up. Once you got the crank rods, the cranks, whatever crap, then you got the pistons. That's basically bottom end. You're gonna need kind of like a. This is like, for example, an overhaul. Uh, an overall engine kit. Let's do this SBC. Oh hold on. Let's do for like a small block Chevy. So like this is for cam. We'll get into that next. So, oh, like this is a good photo. So you got your pistons, your rings, your rods, your rod bearings, your crankshaft. That's all going to go into the motor. Let's just do let's do a 454 big block. Big block motor. That's not the right way to put it, but whatever. So this is your motor, and this is where your crankshaft will sit. And then once you put the crankshaft in, you'll have to measure it a lot and do a bunch of crap. Then you put your rods, your pistons, piston heads, bearings. These have to fit in the motor so well. I don't know if I can get a photo. Hold on. Alright, right here. You have to measure this, make sure the clearance works and that there's enough gap, not too little, not too much. And then you got the, let me see, the small block, whatever. Engine or so you got the cam next. You're gonna need a cam. So the cams, push rods. Then you're gonna need a sprocket with the cams, the lifters, springs right here. This goes into right here with the cam and single cam. Some have dual overhead cams. Some have single cams. Some have like the dual overhead is 2 cams. So it had 4 cams. So if you want to do a cam, you had like new Camaros, you have to do 4 cams, which is ridiculous. But I'm pretty sure every motor has their little fine details you have to do it. This is a after. You're gonna need heads, push rods. What else? Let's see what else they got here. Let's see. You're gonna need heads. These are heads. So when your cam is flowing and rotating, they push these up for the valves, which the valves will be seated right there. So you're gonna need valves unless you buy a kit that has valves. This is flat tappet. There's 2 different types of cam. There's a flat tappet cam and there's a hydraulic roller. The hydraulic rollers are more likely to be in the newer ones, but you can convert the older engines into newer ones. And then after that, you're gonna need an intake, and then obviously your covers, your oil pan, your oil filler, your feeder, lots of gaskets, measuring tools, hydraulic measuring tools, some stuff like that. Then you're gonna need this is for like an old block, but it's kind of the same basis. Then you're gonna need some sort of injection system, fuel air mixture to make combustion. And then that you could like for these old motors, you could use a carburetor, which are these suckers. These, depending on how much fuel and air mixture you want, is depending on the carburetor you get. They have manual and electric choke. For electric choke, so when you're like warming up the vehicle in the morning, it's like when you turn on a generator or a weed whacker or something. You know how you like mess with the choke a little bit? It's the same exact thing. It's like allowing these flaps right here to open up and close. So an electric one is obviously electric and it does it automatically, but can be a little bit of a nuisance sometimes. So a manual one is where you feed a wire into the inside of the vehicle and you manually move it, and then that sits on top of the block like this. Then you'll need a distributor, distributor. This right here is a distributor. This correlates with the cam, moves it, and then sends spark. And then there's like a little rotating cup inside with a metal prong at the end, and it rotates it, and it sends electricity into the correlated spark plug wire to the distributor cap, or vice versa. So then after that, you got your heads, you got your valve cover. These cover the heads. I don't got the heads. These cover the heads. So these cover the heads. They sit on top of here. Your valve cover gaskets. You got your rocker arms right here. And your valve springs. And that's basically it. So it's rocker arms, valve springs. These push the cylinders. Where are they? Where that cam kit at? Let me see. Oh my god. I'm kind of just doing this on the fly, so whatever. Right here. These get pushed up and allow it to maneuver with the lobes. The lobes are like individually things, so it's kind of like a sequence. So it's like 1, 3, 4, 2, 5, 6, 8, whatever, how many cylinders you have. And then this makes it synchronize with the crankshaft. So it synchronized the entire motor together. This sits right there. You got your breather. This is like to breathe pressure and stuff. And then this is the intake valve. Now let's keep that one. Intake valve. Brother. Intake manifold. What a bozo. Manifold. Carbureted. Boom. Carb sits on top. Thermostat sits right here. Bolted in to there. After you put the heads, this goes. Thermostat, carb, distributor, heads, sprocket, timings for like timing. This is your harmonic balancer. This is your sprocket cover plate, whatever crap. Oil. This is the motor block. And that's basically about it. And there's very more specifics to it, but this is the little breakdown of it. But that's about it. Just like a little overview. I would say do more research. There's a lot of specifics you would need to get in on measuring this and stuff like that. Balances, and then make sure this is not, if you have an old block, this is not like high on one side, low in the middle, because then you're gonna get oil coolant mixture, and then you have to see everything properly, lubricate things as you go. It's a whole thing, but this is like a basic, not really in-depth type deal. It's just to get the knowledge in your head, I guess. Well, I hope you enjoyed, and hopefully that helped you.